You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
October 5th, 2024. If it's 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, it's time for This Week in Waukesha on WAUK FM 540. And I'm your host, Don Brown, the unsinkable Don Brown, coming to you live and local from the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown. And we're right around the corner from Theodore Yeoman's Park, where we're proud to honor our suffragette heritage here in the Shaw. I am joined by the mighty Max Martinson there on the board. Max, how are you this morning?
I am doing fantastic. Sun's just starting to come up, so.
Terrific. And hey, so just real quick, we're 1 week away from Waukesha Unlocked, which I'm really excited. Basically, Waukesha businesses, churches, schools, organizations open up their doors, and you get a chance to kind of go behind the scenes and learn about the history and all the amazing things that a lot of these organizations do, including, like I said, I think some of our manufacturers are participating in that too. And we've got a great manufacturing tradition here, and so much more: culture, history, sports, music. And want to let you know, initially WAUK was going to participate in that, but we will not be able to because of some building changes we're going through. So we just want to let you know, Parks and Maryburg and Parks and Forestry, Parks Rec and Forestry were made aware, so they've taken us off the website, but we are still very excited about Waukesha Unlocked and can't wait to support it any way we can. It really is a great little tradition that started on our 125th anniversary as kind of a one-off, and it was so successful that the people wanted more. So they did it the very next year, and they decided to take a break last year, and now they're doing it again. I think it's going to be an every other year thing. So definitely a great thing to do, especially if we have nice weather like we've been having here in this beautiful fall in the Shaw. And I am joined by a good friend, my predecessor on the city council, who came out of retirement to run at the county level, and he's in his second term as the county supervisor for it's the 10th district, right, Terry? I should know this because you're my you're my representative at the county level. Terry Thieme, welcome. How are you? Good.
Fine morning.
There we go. Now we got you in there. So, and Terry's here to talk about an important sales tax proposal. Do I have that correct?
That's correct.
So Terry's going to talk about that. And also I'm going to have some football scores, which I got courtesy of my wife, Melissa. Thank you, honey, for doing that, as well as some other local news, some exciting news. One of Waukesha's own is accepting a Big Ten hockey scholarship. Looking forward to talking about that and celebrating his family. And we're going to be acting locally, thinking globally, and mentioning two favorite listeners who are not from Waukesha and actually from out east that follow the show. So it's exciting to know that they want to be a part of this. And a grand opening for a nonprofit that helps first responders and vets through music therapy, and it's that's started by another son of Waukesha, and so much more here on the set. And we'll have two farmers markets reports, and also we're going to have as a follow up to our show last week that included Alder Corey Payne and Alicia Halbenslaben. There was an email question that I didn't get, and we're gonna raise that question and give Terry as a member. Former member of the city council like myself, give him a chance to respond to that, especially since he was on the council for like 12 years. Is that right? So you may know a little bit more about the background about this. So
yeah, it was about 11, 12 years, something like that, I guess.
So you'll be able to speak more intelligently too, because it is a really good question regarding the powers of the mayor. So appreciate that. And then, as I mentioned, two farmers market reports, and I believe my man David will be calling those in. He's been doing a great job all summer long. Proud Waukesha North grad. So, but Terry, the floor is yours. Tell us what's going on there at the county level.
Thanks, Don. You started out talking about your guest last week.
Corey.
Corey and the Common Council president, and I don't know her, Alicia. Was her
Alicia
name?
Helbenslavin, yep, here in 11th District now.
They had talked about one item in particular that I guess drew my attention is, the vehicles that the police department drive.
Right, yeah.
And they had mentioned Ford F-150s, I think, or
Sure.
Ford pickups that, and $100,000 vehicles. Well,
Right.
I guess that drew my attention a little bit
Sure.
because 100,000 that didn't sound right to me. So I did some
Right.
digging, and I guess just for the sake of transparency and clarification, the Explorers that you see as patrol cars, the base price for those are $48,000.
Okay.
The F-150s are actually $50,000.
Okay.
And then by the time they're equipped, roughly for the F-150, it's roughly $18,000 for the equipment, and the
Okay.
Explorer $22,000. So
Wow.
in reality, the truck is actually a little bit cheaper that way. Now,
Yeah.
I guess I'd like my constituents and the citizens to know that, back in my day when I was a police officer,
And how many? You were 18 years in Waukesha?
I
police?
was 19 years in
sorry about that.
Waukesha. I had just a little over 25 years of service throughout the state of Wisconsin and the
Wow.
2 other departments
That's
that
right,
I worked
in law
for.
enforcement, yeah.
So, but times have changed drastically, and I'm sure everybody's aware that things have gotten a lot more complicated with the weaponry and equipment that the police officers carry.
Sure.
Back in my day, you had a shotgun in the middle. You might have had a first aid kit in the trunk, maybe some chalk for marking tires, and
Right.
that's really about it. And now it's just much more complicated. I'm not going to get into the various types
Sure,
of
sure.
equipment and everything, but I guess I'd like everybody to think of it as they're a little bit larger vehicles, but this is your office.
Yeah.
You look at here and
Right.
here you got a nice office and
Thank you.
everything. That's with police officers, their car is their office. And, they need to have room to work with all the equipment that
Right.
they wear, ballistic
Yeah.
vests and everything. They need to have room to move and ride comfortably for the 8 to 10 hours, sometimes more, that they live in their office,
Sure,
work in
sure.
their office.
Yeah.
So, citizens, I guess I thought that was an important point to get out, a point of clarification. They're not driving around even fully equipped. They're not driving around in
Yeah, they're not.
$100,000 vehicles.
Yeah.
So I guess I wanted to address that right off. the
Sure,
top
sure.
here.
Yeah.
So on to the topic. Don, I want to thank you for having me on
Yeah,
today.
no, always great to have you on. The Fighting Saint, Terry Thieme.
From Mount Senario College.
That's right, up in Ladysmith.
Also spent some time at UW Whitewater, so a
Go Warhawks.
plug out to them.
Sure, sure.
So
and you'll be working the Carroll game, right? Their homecoming game. They're hosting Milliken. Is that right?
I am. That's
So,
correct. And,
yep.
and Carroll's, they're doing well. I have
Pios.
the privilege to work there, and I have contact with a lot of not only the athletes but the student body, and just a great group of
Yeah.
kids there. And I guess I say kids; they're all young adults.
I forgot
but-
to tell you, Greg Triple G Wansnyder invited me out there to lunch in the campus center.
Yeah.
And I had, and so Greg's going to be calling in with the Carroll Minute in the second hour. So I'm sure he'll have a few nice. He's a very big fan of yours too, and so I'm sure he'll have some nice things to say about you.
Greg's a great
So,
guy. Also,
he sure is, yeah.
The student body and staff there are second to none.
Yeah.
They're great.
And what's neat is he had a young lady helping him. As many of you know, Greg is visually impaired, and she was a sophomore from Massachusetts.
Yes.
Karina, and I was like, wow, why'd you come all the way from? Or what? How did you choose Carroll of all the great colleges? And Boston's got quite a few colleges. And she said they have an animal. She wanted to study animal behavior, and Carroll's got one of the few programs in the country, and it's, I guess, very prestigious. And so that's another great plug for Carroll, that they're attracting students from around the country and around the world.
Literally around the world. A lot of the soccer players, the men's soccer players, are from France,
Right,
Spain,
Yep.
Italy.
Yep.
Just gave a couple of the boys a ride last night.
Nice.
Matter of fact, they're boarding the bus for Augustana today. So good luck, guys. I hope you do well.
Yeah, beat the Vikings, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So, my time on the council, one of the biggest, probably the biggest issue that I dealt with there was the water issue. As you know, we obtained Great Lakes water because our water was contaminated.
Sure.
And, transparency was key there. There were a lot of questions. Not that everybody was happy with the transition,
Sure.
but at least they had the understanding of why.
Yeah. Yep.
When I'm still fairly new, like you said, only my second term on the county board, but I felt that it's really important to get the facts out, and so the constituents from every district understand the reason that this is even being considered, let alone now it's looks like we're going to vote on it this month,
Wow.
yay or nay. So things are moving along really well. And
Sure.
initially when I talked to you about this, I didn't realize it was going to happen quite this quick. I knew it was pretty imminent, but but anyhow, to get on with things. So what prompted this is Waukesha County's looking at a budget shortfall of approximately $5 million.
Okay.
5,000 wouldn't be a bad deal.
Yeah, that would really be nice.
$5 million. And, I give credit to County Executive Carroll for putting together a task force at the beginning of the year like he did. And it was business leaders throughout the county to try to brainstorm, okay, what can we do with the direction of the county? Any ideas for, services and improvements and everything. And it was a good group of people along with some county supervisors that were on that.
Sure.
And I won't bore you with the details of all that, but they had came down to 3 points that, you could gain some revenue from. Obviously, raising the levy, that has its limitations to be able to do that. It's more of a finite thing, and you're looking for long term. Again, correlating this with the water, you're looking for the long term solution, not just a short term Band-Aid. A wheel tax, for those of you that don't know that, how many cars you drive, there'd be a tax on the wheels, the number of wheels that.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of that. Again, it's another tax. It's finite. It's in my opinion penalizing the Waukesha County residents.
Yeah.
The third option would be a sales tax. The sales tax certainly is the best option, although nobody wants to raise taxes. The sales tax would be the best option because then you're reaching out. It's affecting more citizens than just Waukesha County residents.
Sure. We're going to continue this conversation with County Supervisor and former City of Waukesha Alder Terry Thieme, and we'll also be acting locally, thinking globally, and so much more. And interested in learning more about this wheel tax proposal too. So lots to talk about here in this week in Waukesha on WAUK on this beautiful Saturday morning. And we're taking your calls on the Civic Media app too.
Down Georgia Street Arcade, where the poor children play, gathering up charity to help them make their day. For me, I was once their age. Once I was young, but I know I had my family to fall back on. Give it up, share it out, yeah. Help who you can. I know that you can. Talk about it, talk about it. Oh, give it up.
The world is waiting for the sun rising. My heart is calling you.
We're back on This Week in Waukesha on WAUK 540 AM, and nothing like that little ditty from Waukesha's favorite son, Les Paul. The world is waiting for the sunrise, and we have to wait a little longer as we get here into the fall season, but it is a beautiful sunrise this morning. I'm enjoying it here along with my good neighbor friend and my county supervisor, Terry Thieme, who's really getting out in front in terms of educating people on this proposed sales tax. And it's kind of like the best worst option. Is that how you describe it with some of the other ideas like the wheel tax?
Yeah, the wheel tax certainly is a non-starter, and only my opinion, but that punishes the residents of Waukesha County.
Yeah, we're a 4-car family, and it's not because we're rolling in the money. We've got college-age kids that need to get around, and it's also helpful with a freshman who in high school is not driving, that we've got an extra set of wheels to get her to where she needs to go.
No, absolutely.
So.
Everything's so mobile nowadays, and between employment, school, people have to travel a distance, and although I do believe in mass transit, that's not always the most convenient either, especially everybody knows in the wintertime it gets a little chilly out, and to walk a distance can be challenging at times. We've got a very good mass transit. Don't get me wrong, but the convenience of an automobile, if families can afford it, is
yeah. So we're going to put a quick pin in this discussion. I want to switch to acting locally, thinking globally. I want to give a big shout out to some couple listeners we have who aren't from Waukesha, but are fans of the city and what's going on here. Tom, back in my hometown of Orchard Park, New York, he says that he's my favorite Trumpster, and I may have to agree. Tom and I go back a long way. We grew up in the same parish. Our brothers played football together. We played football together. Tom is also a great wrestler and accomplished businessman and good community citizen, and so we welcome him to this morning discussion and every Saturday. And then Jim, a really good friend who's a retired union carpenter out there in Queens, New York, who he catches this show on his morning walks or his morning jogs, and really dear friend. It was really great to reconnect with him yesterday and talk about what's going on in the world. And I encourage everyone to if you're not from here, because I believe for every Waukesha by birth, there's a Waukesha resident by choice. Like my friend Terry Thieme, a native of Jefferson County, right? Did I get that right?
Yes, city of Jefferson. My wife and my family moved here in 1988 when I started at the Waukesha Police Department. So we come from all areas.
Yeah, so it's great to reconnect with those friends from home and talk about what's going on in the world. Like I'm really having there's so much going on in Israel, and I feel bad I haven't been catching up with that war there. It continues to get worse. It's going into Lebanon. I believe I've heard different reports, 1,000 to 2,000 people killed, a lot of women and children. And so I encourage everyone to pay attention, to look at different media outlets. BBC is a great outlet. It's always good to see what other news outlets around the world, how they're reporting on it. And of course, your own local and national news, get as many perspectives as you can and talk to people. Call your national legislators, your congressmen and senators, and express your concerns, find out what's going on. But I think the more educated we are, the more informed we can be, especially in this election cycle. And speaking of being better informed, we're going to return to this conversation with Terry about this county tax. And so, Terry, take it away.
Sometimes makes you take for granted the security that we have.
No doubt.
The men and women in our armed services that give us the blanket of freedom to sleep under.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Terry was a Marine, by the way, so you have to throw that in there. So
once a Marine, always a Marine. Don.
Yeah. So I stand corrected. Thank you. Yeah. Semper Fi.
Semper Fi. So at the beginning of the assessment, when the group got together, Waukesha was one of 4 counties in the state of Wisconsin that didn't have a sales tax. And that surprised me, because I thought, honestly, the numbers were the other way around, that there was more that did not have a sales tax that did. So that was really a surprise to me. And this has been around. Some counties have had it, if memory serves me right, since the 1980s. So this is really nothing new, I guess. It's just that, this is the first time Waukesha County, unfortunately, has to look at that. One of the things also that's important for the voters to know, or that my constituents to know, is that there's state-funded positions that the state of Wisconsin is responsible for that are not getting funded. Depending on the number that you believe, the state is sitting on a surplus of anywhere from $3 to $5 billion with a B.
Sure.
But yet the counties are funding some of the positions, such as an assistant district attorney, that the state is supposed to be responsible for.
Wow.
So, one of the steps that Waukesha County took is that, some of our legislatures would come to the county board, the executive committee, and speak with them.
Right.
And, how about this? We need some help. We need some funding for this. With the cost to continue, it's really getting a burdensome for the citizens of Waukesha County. One of the things that we were told is that we're not using all the tools that are available to us. And I'm thinking, what does that mean? Well, fast forward to the topic that we're talking about now. Since Waukesha County has been so frugal with their money, has treated their taxpayers so good, and doesn't spend any more money than they absolutely need to spend, keeping the levy down, we have not implemented a sales tax, and that's what the legislators want us to do, That's what they're referring to, and we're not using all the tools that are available to us. It's very frustrating because now we have to look like the bad guys and we have to talk about this, but for the sake of transparency, contact your people in Madison. Ask them what's going on here because we have a business to run.
Yeah.
Public safety was a platform that I ran on. And I guess just for example here, I do have a few notes here, Don. But
Yeah, no, good.
just for example,
Taking more
here,
notes than I am.
our jail costs, the medical costs for the contract for the jail alone has went up $1,079,800 or 44%. If you really look at it, that's what our levy limit would be, the 1.4% to increase. That's what our levy limit would be.
Okay.
To be able to increase.
Okay.
So that's just the jail cost, the cost to continue the medical contract for them. So, unfortunately, public safety is a necessity. I strongly believe in that.
Yeah.
But there's a cost to that.
Sure. Absolutely. We're going to continue this conversation with County Supervisor, 10th District County Supervisor Terry Thieme. And we'll also have some high school football scores, including a very impressive first responder demonstration, shall we say, at New Berlin West Homecoming last night. I know Terry will appreciate, and so will you. And so much more great local news here on this beautiful Saturday morning as we prepare for another great weekend and for Waukesha Unlocked that takes place next weekend. So don't go away. So much going on here in WOUK 540 AM. And don't forget the Civic Media app. We're taking your calls.
Dear one, the world is waiting for the sunrise. Every little rosebud is covered with dew, and my heart is calling for you. The thrush on high, his sleepy mate is calling, and my heart is calling you.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
Conversation has run dry. That's what's going on. Nothing's fine, I'm torn. I'm all out of faith. This is how I feel. I'm cold and I am shamed, lying naked.
You're listening to This Week in Waukesha on this beautiful Saturday morning, October 5th, 2024. And that is Natalie Imbruglia with Tor, and that was a big hit a little over 20 years ago, probably around the time Max was born. But she was kind of a one-hit wonder, was a former love interest of David Schwimmer, who was Ross on Friends. And, but it's just, it's one of those pop songs that, like I said, you never lose. It's a good era, as we Irish like to say. And I'm here with County Supervisor Terry Thieme, and we're talking tax, brass tacks here. And but first, some announcements, some football scores. Which again, thank you to my wonderful wife for sending these via text. And we'll start with let's see here. In the Classic 8, Kettle Moraine Lutheran, and that's not Classic 8, but Kettle Moraine Lutheran beat Kewaskum 42-7. We have West Allis Hale in the Parkland lost to Germantown 61-19. Let's see, we're going to get closer to home here. Pewaukee, now in the Classic 8, beat Menominee Falls 14-0. We have the big score I'm looking for here is, let's see, Tosa East beat West Allis Central 65-0. Let's see, Waukesha West lost to Arrowhead 46-7. Waukesha North Lost a conference rival, Tosa West, 28-14. Sussex Hamilton beat Brookfield East, 42-21. And I'm looking for here there was McGuanago played Oconomowoc, who's undefeated. Oconomowoc was 3-6 last year. They're undefeated this year. Coach Sal Logue was named Packers Player of the Week. One of their star players, Austin Munzel, was named the Jolly Good Player of the Week. So that was a great plug. But it says here it looks like Oconomowoc lost to McGuanago last night. I'm trying to get a score. Their first loss of the season. Oh, yep, here it is. McGuanago 28-6 over Ocon. So Ocon finally suffers its first loss, but still having a great year, especially after being 3-6 the year before. And supposedly, I think if they'd won this, they would have, I think, clinched the Classic 8 this early in the season. So a lot of great things going on there at Ocon. Our beloved Black Shirts of Waukesha South lost a tough one to New Berlin West, 50-6. It says here 60-6, but I was at the game last night. I'm pretty sure it ended 50-6. Now, Waukesha South is without its starting quarterback, Jordan Garcia. So Cooper Willis, a good running back and great defensive player, has been filling in quarterback duties, and that's a tall order, even for a great athlete like Cooper Willis, a sophomore. And of course, New Berlin West is now has become one of the juggernauts in the Parkland Conference, second only to Catholic Memorial. And but what was really special about their homecoming last night, and Terry would appreciate this as a retired first responder, was that the Flight for Life flew in the game ball at the beginning of the game. They landed on the 50-yard line. It was funny. They were setting up. There were lights out there in the field, and we couldn't figure out why. But there are those air traffic control lights that you would see.
Sure.
And one of the fathers that works for the Flight for Life, his son's one of the seniors at New Berlin West football team, and he basically got out of the chopper and handed the ball to his son, big hug. It was a very cool scene, and then the chopper flew away, and really one of the more impressive displays I've seen at a homecoming game or any football game, pregame ceremonies.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
You're right.
Yeah, a great ode to the first responders and to New Berlin West for putting that together. Big shout out to them for doing that. And other news really quick, too, was that I want to give a big shout out to Lincoln Kritsky, who is a senior at Waukesha West. I believe it's Waukesha West. And he's committing to Ohio State for hockey. Very prodigious hockey player. I've known him since he was a young lad in the Blazer baseball program, played a couple years with my son. And even then, he was playing traveling hockey, and I'm really excited. That's the second Waukesha high school student that's gotten a full scholarship and a great opportunity to play sports at Ohio State. You hate cheering for the Scarlet and Gray, but we're obviously excited for our kids. The other one being the left-handed pitcher, Tanis Lang, who was in the engineering academy at Waukesha South. And so hopefully Lincoln and Tanis will connect there in Columbus. But that's, again, very excited for Lincoln and his parents. Good friends, great family, and great to be able to share that, too, about our young kids doing really well. So, and should we talk about that heartbreaking Brewers loss real quick? Now, my week started out with tragedy because one of my favorite baseball players as a kid, Pete Rose, had just passed away on, I believe it was Tuesday, I think was the night, or Monday.
And my wife and I were talking about that. I hadn't heard that with him passing, and then they were talking about the Hall of Fame that he was banned
Yeah, because
from
the gambling scandal he was involved in. And
but then I never followed up on it. So, yeah, you're saying he did pass away.
Yep, greatest hitter in baseball history, or has the most hits. And
don't I remember Charlie Hustle? Wasn't that one of his acronyms?
You know who gave him that nickname?
I do not.
So during COVID, and when the whole world was shut down, Ken Burns was offering his baseball documentary for free on the PBS website, and I was watching that while I was walking the dog, and Reds were at spring training, and they're scrimmaging the Yankees. and Mickey Mantle's in the dugout watching, and they're watching Pete Rose in the outfield, and he's like, "Hey, look at Charlie Hustle over there." I think when most people are like the veterans are kind of dogging it, for spring training, like, there's Pete Rose, and he was always nonstop. He was always hustling, and it amazes me they don't talk enough about. He's also the Joe DiMaggio of the National League. He owns the consecutive hit streak, games with hits. And he hit safely in 44 games in 1978. And I was following that. They'd always break from the news or whatever's going on to show you when he beat the record, which at the time was 38. I think it was at Shea Stadium against the Mets. And then when the streak finally stopped at 44, it was against the Braves, and they had this pitcher. He was like Randy Johnson. He was like 6'4" or 5" and had this big wingspan. And Rose hit a shot over the middle, over the pitcher that any other pitcher would not. It would have been a clean hit, but this guy stuck his big glove out and robbed him, and that was the end. But the very next game, Rose hit the cycle. He was like 4 for 4, 5 for 5, single, double, triple, home run, and so he was just that kind of guy.
When you brought up Joe DiMaggio, I thought you were talking about going to talk about coffee commercials. Or
there
something.
You go. Yeah.
I guess I'm dating myself with those.
No, I remember those, Mr. Coffee, and
yes.
It's one of my favorite Seinfeld episodes where he's at Spunky Dunkers and he's dunking his donut in the coffee. So that's the co-creator Larry David is actually playing Joe DiMaggio because you only see his hands in the coffee with the donut. So, but how are we doing on time here, Maxie?
We got like 7 minutes left.
7 minutes. That's perfect.
On the topic of Pete Rose too, I'd like to point out that technically his lifetime Hall of Fame suspension is now over.
Yeah, so maybe
when you do think of it on the brighter side, he could technically
be inducted posthumously.
now.
Yeah, so and I think too was when he finally owned up to it in recent years, and I think it is a disease. Gambling is and I think that was the thing is if had he owned up to it years ago, they probably would have let it. Even when it was happening at the time when he was managing the Reds and the scandal broke, I think if he had come clean, he would that they may have. They might have kept him in the game at that point. So, but I think it was one of these things where he was very proud and stubborn and just didn't. But kind of like he played the game, though. Just always,
you're right,
nonstop. So, and also just a respect for the game too. Like in that 7-game World Series against Boston, which is probably the greatest World Series ever in '75, when Fisk hit that game-winning homer in like the 11th or 12th inning. That hole where he's like the ball hits the foul pole and Fisk and everyone behind him are waving.
Yep.
And as he's circling the bases, Rose is talking to, that great, he was a coach, Don Zimmer. He was coaching third for the Red Sox. And supposedly Rose had a tear in his eye. He's like, this is the greatest, even though they lost, he's like, he could appreciate the moment. He was just so proud to be a part of that moment. And they just said they had this really enlightening conversation while all that was going on, where most people would just be devastated. Rose was like, well, I got one game left. We're going to win it, and they did. So. But anyway, we got to talk tax. Sorry, Terry.
That's all right. It's good to reminisce. It
sure
makes you feel young again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, another point I think that's important for the taxpayers to know is that from 2010 to 2024, Waukesha County has decreased its positions by 58 or 4%.
Okay.
So it's not like we're not trying to improve on where we can. And,
right.
We're conscious of personnel costs because it generally is the number one cost with the people and benefits and everything.
Sure.
The only department over that time that had not decreased is the Department of Health and Human Services. They had a 7% increase, but most of their funding, 70% is from non-levy sources. So, non-levy, which means it's not tax dollars. They have a lot of user fees, state revenues, and I believe there's also some grants in there too.
Okay.
So, one thing that a newer improvement that DHSS has made is they actually have workers that are on call, and in some cases, when it's during their working time, go on calls with police officers. And that way there's immediate assessments done right away.
Right.
And it cuts down on, say, court time, review time, any kind of mental health commitments. That's where it helps at, too. So they're trying to improve things the way everything goes. They're trying to make improvements to be more cost-effective with taxpayer dollars.
Good. So, what? I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought here.
No, that's okay. I'm just going through my notes here. That's where one of the components also, Don, is with the implementation of this county sales tax. If it gets approved, it goes to the Board of Supervisors. If it gets approved, there's also going to be a component to give back to the Waukesha County taxpayers.
Okay.
And the county taxpayers, along with the different municipalities, cities, villages, and towns within Waukesha County, up to 20% is going to be given back to the different municipalities. For example, now these are projected costs, so the figures might adjust one way or the other.
Right.
But, kind of what they're looking for is, so say for example, the city of Waukesha, 2024 population is listed at 70,923. It goes by the percentage of their population. The city of Waukesha could stand to gain approximately $2 million out of this sales tax. So there's not only going to be a county rebate, credit, however you want to phrase it.
Okay.
There's not only going to be that, but there's also going to be a component where the county is going to give money back out of the sales tax to the different municipalities. Don't quote me, but I believe the city of Waukesha is also looking at a budget deficit in the near future. So certainly that could help out with that too. So it's a component not just to help Waukesha County as a branch of government per se,
right,
but also spread it around to the different municipalities within Waukesha County to assist them. So the non-personnel operating costs have increased 15 to 20% in the last 5 years. Above the 7% growth in property tax levy revenue. Waukesha County is among the lowest tax out of the 72 counties in the state of Wisconsin.
Really?
And we'll pick this up when we come back.
Yeah, that sounds great. So conversation continues with County Supervisor Terry Thieme and so much more, including a question regarding last week's discussion that we're going to give Terry a chance to respond to about the mayor's authority in the city. And so much more here in our Farmers Market reports take place in the second hour as well, along with the Carroll Minute. So don't go away here on This Week in Waukesha, WUK, 540 AM, and the Civic Media app.
Into something real. I'm wide awake and I can see the perfect sky is tall. I'm all out of faith. I want to live forever on a boat out in the sea. I want to build a happy home for you and me. I want to touch the silver line.
Welcome back to This Week in Waukesha. And this song is Silver Lining from Guard. And you hear this a lot on the Big Ten commercials during the football games. And it's a really cool animated display of where the Big Ten is around the country. And now with the expansion, the commercial used to start in Nebraska. Now it's starting up in Oregon and Washington, UCLA, USC. And so it's, and then of course it ends with Rutgers. And so I know there have been a lot of critics of the expansion, but I think it's wonderful because for Badger fans, you can go to these iconic places like the Rose Bowl. You don't have to wait for that once-in-a-generation moment when your team wins the Big Ten. You now, like next time when Wisconsin plays at USC, you can go see the Rose Bowl. I know last week Wisconsin lost at the Coliseum, but again, there were some Badger alumni or fans that got to go take in a game on a beautiful Saturday. And I imagine every Saturday is beautiful there in L.A.
When I was in the Marine Corps, I got to attend a game at the Coliseum. What a wonderful facility.
I bet.
I can remember growing up, that's what you'd see on Monday Night Football. The Coliseum.
Yeah.
Same is true for Soldier Field, not the current one, the old iconic Soldier Field.
Sure.
And fortunate to see the Rose Bowl when I was out there too.
Neat.
So I can only imagine the drastic changes to those facilities since I guess it would have been 1980. So
yep.
a few years back.
I'm a Spartan, and I had a chance in college when we won the Rose Bowl in it was 88. It was the 87 season, And I had some brothers that were going to, lend me some money to go out there. And I regret that I didn't. And then in recent years, we beat Stanford in an amazing Rose Bowl that ended on a 4th and 1 play when the Spartans stuffed the Cardinal there on a 4th and 1 to win the game. And I had friends actually that live in the area that got to go. And and same thing, I wasn't in a good situation to go out there. But now it's like something it's, every, 3 to 5 years. My team will get to play out there, or maybe another team, but it's just great that we have that option. And I think it's great for college football. And I just love this time of year. Friday Night Lights, went to a game last night, the homecoming game for West and South. And even though it was not a good game for South, it's a tough season as they're a very young team without their starting quarterback. But it was a chance to take a look at my wife's alma mater, New Berlin West, which has had a great program there in recent years, and to see a well-oiled machine with some young kids who that they weren't much bigger than South. I mean, they matched physically they matched up well. It's just obviously a deeper team with more players and a body of experience. That's again, winning is like a drug. It's just like with losing. It can be epidemic that you're doing a lot of the right things, and that team. It was good. It's interesting to see these teams at this level execute as well as they do.
Well, they're playing for the love of the game,
and they're playing for the love of the game. Yeah.
Now, as it filters up, and now it's into college, there's a little bit more to it than just the love of the game. I think it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
It sure is. So, and before we get back into the tax discussion, I wanted to thank one of our listeners, Dale. He sent an email in last week in response to we had 2 city alders on, Corey Payne from the 15th and Alicia Halbin-Slavin, council president from the 11th. And Dale's question is, why does the mayor have power that the council should have, including naming standing committee members? Dale says here that I guess at one time it was the council president's responsibility or authority to name committee members, and it's the mayor's. And when I was in the council, it was the mayor's duty. And he says here that it seems like the council's relinquished a lot of authority to the mayor. And and I said, Terry, you're on the council. You said 12 years. You're on the council, 11 years.
I started on the council in 2008. I was appointed for his District 1 when Joe Laporte retired.
Okay.
And it was that way even at that time, where the mayor appointed the committee heads and everything. So I am not sure, and what time that had changed, but it was that way at least since 2008.
Sure,
he had did that.
Okay.
I shouldn't say they had did that.
That's right. Yep. So, and so again, because I was only in the council for one term from 2019 to 2022, I can't really speak to that, but it's a good question. And I think it would be neat to get some other people in here with a I guess a longer history than ours. And maybe Pat Nekich might be able to speak to it.
There you go.
So we might have him on. We might have him on next week actually, and for sure we'd like to have him on for Veterans Day or that Veterans Day weekend. So I think Pat would be a good resource for that. So, but on to taxes.
Everybody's favorite topic.
Exactly.
So just to follow up on a point that I made in closing just before the break.
Yeah.
So in 2015, Waukesha's property tax rate was $2.08. And in 2024, the county executive managed to have it at $1.39.
Okay.
So you can tell Waukesha County is very frugal and very respectful of the taxpayer dollar.
Yeah.
With everything. So, when the implementation or even the thought of a sales tax, a county sales tax is not done lightly.
Right.
Not at all.
Sure.
It's really what the cost to continue. The jail cost, the medical cost we had talked about before.
Sure.
The utility costs for Waukesha County from 2019 to 2023, just like anybody's household, increased 20%. Interdepartmental costs generally average, 4%. And, with the costs we're talking about, like software licensing, risk management, bailiff costs, inflation is also a concern with way costs are continuing now too, and right now the levy, there's no way that it can keep up with the inflation costs and stuff. And they're with this year's budget as an example, we're cutting 2 deputy positions. There's also a plow worker, I believe, that's affected by this. So, it's not only through attrition, but now we're looking at trying to dial back.
They're
also
sharpening
with
the
other
pencil.
things. Yeah. So
Okay.
none of this is taken lightly.
Right.
And I'll pick up on that thought after.
Yeah,
the
no,
next
thank
break
you.
here.
Yep, we got in our second hour, we're going to do a deeper dive into the county's tax situation, and as well as I like this idea of like how the county redistributes funds back to the cities, and we'll see how Waukesha fares and what Terry feels about that, and so much more. And we've got our farmers market reports and the Carroll Minute in hour 2. So stick around. So much more to report on, and as well as we're going to play a song for my friend Jim out there in Queens from our high school days. So much more here in This Week in Waukesha on WAUK 540 AM.
It's just a scare. I wanna live forever on a boat and the sea.
October 5th, 2024. If it's 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, it's time for This Week in Waukesha. I'm your host, Downtown Donnie Brown, coming to you live and local with my main man, the mighty Max Martinson, on the board. And this week's guest, 10th District County Supervisor, retired Waukesha police officer, and former 1st District City of Waukesha Alderman, Terry Thieme. How's that for an intro?
That's a heck of an intro,
Great.
Don. Thank you.
So-
You're so kind.
Oh, yeah. Well, what's also kind is we begin the second hour with our first farmers market report from David. David, how we doing, man?
Oh, we're doing fine here today. It's a nice crystal clear skies today, and we've got our recipe for today.
Nice. Tell us.
So we've got we've had apples all September. It's time to make use of those apples. We've got a nice lattice crust apple pie. Just a classic favorite. It's absolutely delicious looking.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrific. And now's the time for apples, too, and they're like real sweet and sour. So they got plenty of vendors with apples today.
Oh yeah, plenty of vendors with apples. And you can you can still get some apple pies too, straight from the vendors as well, and they're all ready for you to stop by.
Love it. And what are we spinning the wheel for today there at the WAUK booth?
Oh, today we've got everything from Casa Noble
Nice.
to Bo Schnitzel Bunker, Delafield Brewhouse, and today we are giving out double prizes.
Double prizes. Oh, that's great to know. So,
Oh, yeah.
well, good. Well, I'll let you get back to it. It sounds like you're busy there, and hope I can get out there today. We're actually home this weekend, so we'll see what kind of great offerings we have, and we'll be touching base and looking for more updates as we talked to you in the beginning of the second half of this hour. So, David, thanks so much for what you do to promote WAUK and the civic media mission there at the farmers market.
Yep. Thanks, Don.
You got it. See ya.
Hope to see you soon.
You got it. See ya. So
No games today, Don? What are you going to do with all
we
your
actually
time?
we got a volleyball tournament this
Okay.
morning. So yeah, if I might be able to sneak into the farmers market, or if it gets over early enough, because the farmers market goes till 12. But for those of you attending, the civic media booth is on that first aisle as you go through, and on your left hand side you'll see the farmers market information booth, if you will, downtown businesses, and we're right across from that. So check us out. Say hi to David. And this is my favorite time of year for the farmers market, because the harvest has come in and there's just so many great choices. And one of my clients gifted me this week with acorn squash, so I'm really looking forward to checking that out. I'm looking for some recipes on that. So I may even have to give it to my father-in-law, a retired restaurateur who's still a great cook and does he makes his own wine too, and his own pasta. Yeah, so I'll have to pick his brain for some ideas. So. Now, Terry, we were talking taxes, and I thought of a good question because you talked about that the way this proposed sales tax is engineered is that structured in a way that funds will be redistributed back to the municipalities, which I think is great. And it leads me to a question: is that does Waukesha get its fair share of those funds back from the county, or just from in a county budget? Do they, with a redistribution, do you think Waukesha gets its equal bite of the apple?
They don't. And let me see if I can find my numbers here for the revenue sharing, because the sad fact is we don't. We get a fraction of the money back that we pay in, and it goes back to we're the most frugal with our dollar. We pay in a ton of money to the state. And
sure.
Even with the enhanced formula, there was a lot of talk. Was it last year, the year before, about the redistribution, reviewing that?
Okay.
We still only end up getting a fraction of the money back that we as taxpayers pay into the state.
Okay.
And again, I don't know the exact number.
Sure.
You always hear a bunch of numbers, but again, $3 to $5 billion with a B is my understanding
Sure.
of what the state is sitting on, and it boils down to, I can't emphasize it enough.
So that includes state revenue too. We're not getting our fair share.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
you just, I don't know. It's they're putting the counties, our legislatures are putting the counties in kind of a no-win situation, and that's what's kind of forcing our hand right now to have to do this.
And these are the items we need to be paying attention to. I remember years ago after college, I did an internship for a congressman from Michigan, and he was part of what was called the Northeast Midwest Coalition. It was a bipartisan coalition, and there was one of those legislative offices, or more of them, discovered that the region, the Northeast Midwest, when you figure from the Northeast coast all the way here into the heartland, we were putting in X number of dollars, X percentage of dollars into the national pot. We are getting minus that amount redistributed back. A lot of that was going towards the Sun Belt areas where there are a lot of defense contractors. And I wonder, in recent years, I know there's been some adjustment. We have a defense contractor now in Marinette, and that's a great thing. But, these are things we should be paying attention to, and these are the things we should be communicating with and to our legislators at all levels about, because that's your money, folks. And so I'm really glad that Terry is providing data and shedding light on that.
And I guess just like any business, it costs money, to run the business.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I talked about public safety before.
Sure.
We're in the very near future. We're looking at a jail expansion. Our Waukesha County Jail is running at over capacity.
Wow.
The better portion of the time.
Sure.
And it's sad to say, but probably the occupancy of the Waukesha County Jail is maybe 50-50, maybe 60-40, but of Waukesha County residents. The rest are from out of county, and there's a price to pay for being tough on crime, and that's one of the things.
Sure.
Now, I think it's important that the taxpayers also know that we did away with the Huber facility.
Okay.
And the old Northview building, when I came to town here, that was a nursing home.
Okay.
And it's fallen upon tough times. I mean,
Sure.
that wasn't made to be a Huber facility with all the hidden spaces and everything in there. And that building is going to need some major repairs. So there were a lot of driving forces to go to the electronic monitoring.
Sure.
But you talk about the cost of doing business. Now, the revocation rate, I guess you could say, of the Huber, it's being run out of the county jail now, but the revocation of that is they're having to pull back a large number of the Huber inmates from work release because of violations. Electronic monitoring is being discovered that the people on that are violating their privileges and are being brought back into the county jail. So that was one of the things that they were not tough enough on crime.
Okay.
There's better monitoring on now, because before with the Huber, you could go out for whatever the reason was, job search, job, whatever, but there was nobody following you to see where you were or what you were doing.
Right.
Now the technology that they have now they're being monitored, 24/7 when they're outside of the confines of the county jail. So there's better tracking, I would argue.
Sure.
Now.
Yeah.
And then you don't have the facilities costs.
Yeah.
Another point I guess I wanted to cover is, so we compared ourselves to 6 peer counties. Those counties are Brown County,
Okay.
Dane County, Kenosha
Okay.
County, Milwaukee County, Racine County, of course, Waukesha County.
And these are all counties that have a decent sized city, 70,000 or more.
Correct.
And Brown County is where Green Bay is.
We went with
So it's a fair
more
comparison.
population.
Yeah.
Yeah, that way.
So it's not like Crawford County where Prairie du Chien is, or these are very comparable counties.
Correct. You're
Okay.
right, Don. So out of the 6 peer counties, Waukesha has the third largest population at 411,538. That was the 2023 census.
Okay.
And the lowest per capita spending, the lowest levy, and the lowest per capita revenue sharing.
Wow.
With all that. Now, when we talk about per capita spending,
Sure.
just as a point of reference, that's a measure of spending on goods and services purchased by and on behalf of the households
Okay.
in Waukesha County.
Sure.
Out of the 6 counties, and I think I mentioned this before, but out of the 6 counties, Racine and Waukesha are the only ones that have no sales tax. While Brown County, remember I said referenced, I think it's been around since the 1980s.
Uh-huh.
Brown County adopted their sales tax back in 1986.
Wow.
So this, I mean, unfortunately, it's not a new concept that
Right.
way. I still don't feel good that Waukesha County has to go to that.
Right.
But unfortunately, with the budget gap or the anticipated gap, we're kind of having our hand forced.
It looks like the best worst option.
I think so. So in 2025, we're looking at approximately $5 million in a budget gap, and that gap could grow to up to $58 million in 6 years.
Wow.
With an average inflationary cost increases 3 to 5% versus the 2 to 3% in previous years. So inflation is really a big driver of this also.
Yeah.
You look at things that we take for granted, utilities, but I think everybody knows in the wintertime here in Wisconsin, you have things like snow and ice.
Yeah.
Well, salt costs never seem to go down. They always seem to increase. And although, you purchase ahead, you try to, play the market a little bit, and you try to stock up the best you can when the price is low.
Right.
There's still going to be ebbs and flows with everything.
Okay.
So we're allowed, and I talked about this just a little bit before, to increase the levy. That's new construction estimate will increase approximately 1.4% annually between 2024 and 2030. That means that per state law, the levy can only increase 1.4% every year. And that 1.4%, that number I threw out before, that was the cost of $1 million, little bit better. That the jail costs, the medical costs went up for the jail. So that levy increase for that was already eaten up just by one entity alone.
Wow.
So, the cost of doing business.
Yep. Speaking of cost of doing business, when we come back, we're going to talk about the potential impacts for local businesses and if there's been any pushback yet, or is Terry Thieme the first to really communicate this proposed sales tax, and so much more in our Carroll Minute. Triple G Greg Wensnyder should be calling in with that on Carroll's homecoming weekend. Go Pios here on This Week in Waukesha, WAUK, and we're taking your calls on the Civic Media app.
Don't just talk about it, talk about it. Don't be shy. But whenever I approach you, you make me look a fool. I wanna say it, I wanna tell you about the early years. I thought your time never made a face.
Hey, you're listening to This Week in Waukesha, and that's one of my favorite tunes from the Jam in the City. And that's another great walkout song for this show, because there's a lot we want to say to you, and I know County Supervisor Terry Thieme has a lot to share with you. And now is when we do our Carroll Minute, and we're expecting a call from Greg Triple G Juan Snyder. And so hopefully he'll be calling in soon. But if not, what I can tell you is I actually had a nice lunch with Greg yesterday there on campus. I didn't realize they have an Einstein's in there in their meal in the main campus center. And then I also Greg took me on a tour of the Hasted or Hosted building. Did I say that right, Terry?
Hosted Jaharis, yeah, it's a combined building, and Doug Hosted did a remarkable job when he was there.
Is that right? He was a former president, right?
He was.
Before Dr. Cindy Nattinger?
Yes.
Okay. And so I never knew there was that rooftop there with a really great view. You could actually watch most of the Carroll games there in Schneider Stadium, or as Coach Buda calls the Schneid. And the only part you're missing there is in the end zone closest to, I guess you would call that the south end zone. There's some tree cover there, but you could see most of the game from there. But beautiful views of the city and the campus from there, especially on a beautiful day that yesterday was. So thanking Greg for that. And yes, today is Carroll's homecoming, and they'll be hosting the Big Blue of Milliken. And Carroll had a tough start to the season because of the scheduling. Their conference openers were against Washington University in St. Louis, one of the top contenders in the CCIW, and then Wheaton. It's always traditionally ranked in the top 20, and so now they're getting into the lighter part of the conference schedule. So good luck to the Piles. And Greg is here. Greg, can you hear me?
You, Don?
I'm great, Triple G. How are you?
A little bit of a hoarse voice talking to the alumni that were around yesterday. We had our 50th Golden Pioneer celebration on campus last night, complete with a student band, and we also had the Yell Like Hell celebration. Can I say that on the air?
I don't know. We'll see.
I think you just did, Greg.
Yeah, I think it's
I think I
HE double hockey sticks.
And yeah. So that was in Schneider Stadium for the first year. Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, but for the first year ever, it was in the Schneid. Yeah, like hell was, and there was a lot of pep and a lot of the different organizations representing themselves, including Carroll players, organizations which Terry knows well from being on campus. By the way, I need to give a shout out to you, Terry Thieme, for going above and beyond the extra mile. You've always helped me out as I call myself a community ambassador for Carroll, and you've always helped me out as that, and get to where I need to go, and the whole public safety. And I want to encourage students and the community, if they need a ride today, that shuttle phone number is 262-524-RIDE, and I'm sure
RIDE, right?
RIDE, yes.
Nice.
I was just made aware of that number. I was calling the main public safety number, but that's the number directly. Goes to the same place, but yeah, 524 RIDE. So if people need a ride, and so Terry, I look forward to seeing you today, and look forward to more happenings. We have our grand reunion celebration tonight. And Don, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but great things going on at Carroll. So Terry, I want to ask a question real quick. What, and you may have already answered this. Sorry, I was getting ready to be on campus, but what gives you that above and beyond? What makes you go above and beyond for the students at Carroll? And maybe you could talk about your work in the community too, that above and beyond. When I think of you, those are the three words that I think of: above and beyond. And what makes you do that? So thank you guys. And Terry, we'll see you today if you're working. And but yeah, if you could talk about that above and beyond.
Awesome.
So
thanks, Greg Weinschneider, Triple G. Thanks for the call, and hopefully I'll be able to make it over there. I know my son's going. His girlfriend's a new member of the cheerleading squad, a Waukesha North cheerleader now with the Pios cheerleading squad. So it's going to be a fun game against Milliken. But I think I could answer that question for Terry. He's a Marine. Go ahead, Terry. Take it away.
Thanks.
Thanks again, Greg.
Greg, thanks for your kind words. I'll be at Carroll come January, about 5 years now in public safety, and it's been a true honor and privilege to work there. I have a lot of contact, not only with the staff, but with the students, and I was very apprehensive. I didn't know, what I was stepping into when I got that role at Carroll, but I couldn't be more happy or more proud to be working there and be affiliated with Carroll University. From President Naniger all the way down, the staff is second to none, and they treat you with the utmost respect. I have yet to have any kind of negative interaction with any staff or a student there. And Greg, the other thing that you had asked about the above and beyond, it really goes back as you treat people as you want to be treated. It's not hard for me to act the way I do at the university, because that's how I conduct my life in general. We all have our moments. Nobody's perfect or anything, but you try to treat people with respect. And quite honestly, I wish more would take that stance, and I think the world would be a lot better off that way.
It sure would. And I think it's really one of the benefits of having a university here in our fair city, especially the state's oldest university, is I think a lot of that campus culture resonates into the community, especially as Carroll becomes much more integrated with Waukesha life. I was asking Greg yesterday, you didn't have an answer with that new business college.
Yes.
Tim Sullivan, and
yes.
He's going to be the dean, and $100 million project. Tim Sullivan's putting $10 million of his own money in. Where are they going to build that?
Now, I'm not privy to a lot of that information, but from what I've been able to find out, it looks like it's going to be in Lot 9, so where the current physical therapy building is, the small physical therapy building.
Okay.
That's right across from Snyder Stadium, I guess to the east of Snyder and to the north of Van Male. It's going to be in that parking lot there.
Got it. Okay. Well, we're gonna talk more about that as well as the tax implications on small business here on This Week in Waukesha on this beautiful Saturday morning in WUK 540 AM. And we're taking your calls for County Supervisor Thieme on the Civic Media app. Hey, we're back on This Week in Waukesha, and we're getting our second farmers market report. David, tell us what's going on.
Well, hey, Don.
Hey.
Okay, just making sure you can hear me.
Oh, yeah.
Today it's an exciting day here at the fair at farmers market. So we've got 3 weeks of the farmers market left. Last day is on the 26th of this month. But that doesn't mean we don't have plenty of exciting things for people to do. Today we've got, right after the farmers market, we've got art crawl. You can always see the artists coming out. We got at least one artist already here at the farmers market painting. She hasn't quite gotten far enough for me to tell what. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Today is double stamp days at the farmers market. And, today is the last day that we will be having a tent here at the farmers market.
Oh, it is. Okay. Well, David, that gives you a chance to shop the farmers market in its final weeks, because this really is the prime time for the market with the harvest and everything, and also great for those of you who are more timely like me about your Halloween decorations. Good time to get some other items for the house, some gourds. I'm sure there's plenty of gourds and other ghostly things. So, well, good, David. Yeah, no, I appreciate the update, and yeah, even though we won't be there next week and we won't be participating in Waukesha Unlocked, I think the farmers market's a great way to start your Waukesha Unlocked experience next weekend. Hit the farmers market early, get all the great things you need for some great home cooking, and then start checking out Waukesha Unlocked. Be sure to check out the website, and it's available through the Waukesha's Parks, Rec, and Forestry. And David, thanks again for all you do, and enjoy your time off. And we'll see you around the neighborhood, as they say.
Oh, yeah. I'll see you around, Don.
All right, David. See ya. So we're back with Terry Thieme, but I wanted to, Max, can we cue that song now that I sent you? When I was, my friend Jim, who's a regular listener, we were sharing some high school memories, and I played this song for him. Does anyone remember? Do you remember this one, Terry? His one-hit wonder?
After all you've done for me, all I really want to do is take the love you brought my
I do not.
From 1982. Marshall Crenshaw with Someday, Someway. And that goes out to you, Jim, in Queens, New York. And it was great. A little bit of rockabilly influence. It was around the time when the Stray Cats were big, and there was some of that rockabilly started coming back. And this was a great one. Someday, Someway by Marshall Crenshaw. Thanks for doing that, Max. And so, Terry, I don't know if it's the $1 million question, but we're talking taxes, so I guess you could say it is a 6-digit or 7-digit question. How will this proposed sales tax impact businesses, especially small business?
So that's a great question. So up to 20% of sales tax collection, it's estimated to be roughly $12 million if the sales tax reaches $60 million.
Okay.
Would go toward the direct reduction of property tax bills, partially offsetting the impact of the sales tax on property owners for Waukesha County.
Okay.
So with the property tax cut in place, the impact on sales tax on a homeowner drops about $12 per month to roughly $7.25 per month. So the tax cut will appear on the December 2026 bill.
Okay.
Another interesting point here.
Talk closer to the mic there. Sorry. That's okay.
Another interesting point here
Thanks.
is how does it help local municipalities? And we talked about that a little bit before, and I tossed out the number from for the city of Waukesha. But so up to 20% of the county's sales tax revenue will be allocated to municipalities to help reduce local property taxes. Like the county, all cities, towns, and villages in Waukesha County are subject to state-imposed levy limits and under significant financial pressure to provide essential services to their residents. In addition to the direct reduction in property taxes, the county will make payments directly to municipalities to alleviate the local tax burden.
Sure.
The specific amount allocated to each community will be determined by the actual county sales tax collections and be distributed based on the municipality population starting in 2027. And then for future municipal payments, receive every 2 years in line with the state budget cycle and will set in conjunction with corresponding county budget. So if a household makes 85% of their purchases in the county, it would cost them an average of $142 a year.
Okay.
So again, it's still an impact. $142 is $142.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at to try to gain, that sales tax revenue is going to increase like 5 to 7% each year with inflation or the cost of goods, whatever your term preference is.
Sure.
But it's going to increase, so the amount will exponentially go up.
Right.
So it is a benefit to the Waukesha County residents. Plus, you're getting out of county residents that are also contributing to it, and that way it's
That's
just
a good
not
point.
through
Yeah,
Waukesha County.
yeah. So you're generating revenue from outside. I would imagine many of our listeners would say, "Well, gosh, I have $142 of my tax money sitting out there in Madison with this state surplus. How can we help you, Terry, in terms of compelling our state legislature to release those funds, our money, that they can be redistributed back into our communities and help you guys out at in the county board of supervisors?"
Contact your local senator. Contact your state assemblyman. Tell them that you'd like more money back. From the money that you're contributing to the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Those are the people that would be able to make changes to help us with that.
And we have an election coming up too. So if you're not happy with the answers you're getting, you might be able to impact this with your vote.
Right. And I'll share. I voted already. I early voted, so my votes.
You did the absentee ballot?
My votes are cast. With my schedule, I'm just not sure what I'll be doing from day to day. And my wife was rather surprised. She says, you voted already? I says, honey, with everything that we've got going on, it's just hard to say what's going to go on from day to day.
I encourage everyone. I always early vote in person, and that opens up October 19th. So please take advantage of that, and that becomes available to you during the city clerk's office hours, which I believe are like 8 or 8:30 to 4:30.
Yes.
And then on that Friday before Election Day, they stay open an hour later. So there's plenty of opportunities for those of you that don't want to wait in a long line on Election Day, and I'm sure there will be. Vote early, get it taken care of, and again, I prefer the in-person voting, and so just go in there and take care of business, and you get to do it on your time, and employers should be able to let you off of work to go do that, or go do it during your lunch break. I know there's some here in Waukesha, and it's here at City Hall. There's some good eateries nearby, so you could vote and then grab your lunch or get something to go from Jimmy John's nearby there. So, but I appreciate you mentioning that, Terry.
Yeah, please vote. Get out and vote, and no matter where you fall, we each have our preference, but no matter where you fall, I'm really of the firm belief that you have no right to complain if you don't participate in the process.
Yeah.
You're doing what you need to do to make your voice heard.
And not only vote, but participate in the process. Call your legislators. Let them know what you're thinking. I used to like when I'd get calls, and I get calls from you, Terry, and but that's how you learn, or that's how you don't know what's going on, and if you're not hearing from the residents. And that was always my opportunity to develop relationships with the constituents. One time I had a guy call, and he was, I think it's closer to where you live, Terry. He was upset. There was a storm, and he wanted to know if the city was going to pick up some of the debris. And I got the answer from Public Works, and I shared it, and he wasn't very happy with the answer. He's like, well, we'll see you on Election Day or something. Like, he just basically said, I'm not going to vote for you. And then, I tried texting back, and I even drove by the house. I was going to even offer to help, and I get over there, and I see him. It's like a few twigs like in his yard, and he's like putting them in his trunk. I mean, it was like maybe a handful. It wasn't like, I was expecting like a whole tree limb. Like it was really, it was a few. So I always get a kick out of that. It's, hey, he's just a little salty, so we'll just let it go.
Yeah.
But again, it helps you. The more engaged you are with your legislators, the more informed they can be, and the more that you're forcing them out of what they do to help you out.
And I'm glad you brought up that point, Don. Contact your legislatures. But I've received some calls, some emails on this proposal because the county's put out many articles about it, trying to educate the public, give them awareness, let them know that it's coming. And they've went anywhere from I'll remember you at election time to okay, I thank you for explaining this to me. It makes sense to what you said.
Yeah.
And
that's most of what I get.
And then also thank you for explaining. I don't agree with it, but at least you explained it to me and you took the time to do that.
Yeah.
It's always my belief you're voting for your constituents. You should be supporting your constituents as to what their wishes are. The feedback that I've gotten so far, if I'd have to go by that, they don't want us to adopt that.
Right.
But I feel it's my responsibility where you have to look at the long-term health of the county.
Yeah.
Again, I equate this to the water project that the city of Waukesha had pretty much the total time that I was an alderman, and then while I served on the Water Utility Commission. It wasn't a popular thing. That was millions upon millions of dollars. I forget the exact amount, 240 million, I think it ended up to be.
Sure.
And it wasn't real popular among a lot of people, but you got to look at that time. You looked at the long-term sustainability for the citizens of the city of Waukesha, the water service area. This is really the same thing for Waukesha County. You're looking at its long-term financial health.
Right.
And although nobody wants to impose new fees, new taxes, or anything like that, I think it's being crafted in such a way by the county executive and the department administration that, we're able to not only reduce the county tax obligation, but also give some back to the municipalities, the cities, towns, and villages within Waukesha County to help them out with their issues.
I want to take a quick pause, switching gears for just a quick moment, because you mentioned the county executive, and I got to see Paul Farrell last Tuesday. Your colleague, Larry Nelson, invited me to the county's heroin task force. They had a meeting at Rogers Behavioral Health, which included a tour of the facilities. Which was really
I wish I
impressive
could have
to
made
me.
that.
That was something.
Supervisor Nelson, who was the mayor in my first term as an alderman,
Lawrence of Waukesha.
He does a fantastic job on the heroin task
sure
force.
does.
Tireless efforts. with them.
And so Paul came and addressed the crowd, and Paul was very public about his battle with cancer, and he looks great. He said the treatments are going well, and it was great for him to show up. He got to speak for a few minutes, from his busy schedule, then go back to. I'm sure he had several other meetings that day, but it was great to see him. It was great to see him looking well, and really grateful for him being very public about his battle and sharing that. And I think it inspires a lot of people. And again, it's always good to see Paul. So.
And not to, I guess if you categorize it as misfortune, but yes, with what Paul's going through, but yet he's bringing this forward. It's probably the worst possible time for him personally.
Yeah.
But there again, he realizes he's committed to the financial health and well-being of Waukesha County. Yep. And if you just look at that little point to this, that with all the things that he's got going on in his personal life, that this is the time that he needs to bring this forward now, so that should also bring awareness and the sense of urgency to get this done and how critical this is.
Sure. No, I appreciate you sharing that. So how are we doing on time, Maxie? Okay, so we have about a minute here, so we'll give Terry a quick pause. Hey, I want to shout out Pat Nettesheim, who called me and invited me to Pat was the founder of Guitars for Vets, which provides free guitars and lessons for veterans, especially those suffering with PTSD. But he's now started another charity called Music Success, which opens up that same mission to not only vets, but first responders and anybody else dealing with mental health issues. And supporting the mission, he has a storefront that just opened up at 15427 West National, which is the Burghart's Plaza. And we'll talk more about that after the break here on This Week in Waukesha on WAUK, 540 AM, and the Civic Media app.
What can I do to make you care? What can I say to make you feel it?
To sing this song, setting my feet upon the rock, made my footsteps firm. Many will see and fear. I will sing a new song.
Hey, we're back on This Week in Waukesha, and that's one of my favorite songs from U2 called 40. That was from, this is live at Red Rocks from the album Under a Blood Red Sky. And very timely in light of what's been going on in the Middle East. And again, keeping all those people close and encouraging everyone to really be as informed as you can and share your thoughts on that situation with your national legislators. And again, hoping that there can be a peaceful resolution to what's going on there. And speaking of our our soldiers, our armed forces. As I mentioned before the break, Pat Nettesheim, a Waukesha North grad, Waukesha native, the co-founder of Guitars for Vets, a wonderful philanthropy that helps vets dealing with PTSD with free guitars, free guitar lessons. He started a second philanthropy called Music Success, and that's music, the number 6S. And it opens up that same mission to not only vets, but first responders, a lot of Terry's colleagues from the law enforcement, and other people, citizens that are dealing with any type of mental health. It's free instruments, free lessons. And to support that mission, he has a storefront there that's going to have a grand opening on, of all days, Veterans Day, November 11th, from 12 to 8, a grand opening. And you can not only buy instruments pretty affordably there to support the mission, but there's also great music selections and other really fun things, T-shirts, and it's going to be a great little venue there, and it's in the Burghart's Plaza. So you get a lot of young families there going for their for baseball practices, to have their baseball mitts restitched, pick up their uniforms, and that could be a great thing for that philanthropy. So wishing Pat Nettesheim the best of success. And then so here in this final segment, wrapping things up with County Supervisor Terry Thieme about this proposed sales tax that the board will be voting on in their next meeting. Is that right, Terry?
Yeah, the meeting, the end of October, the county supervisors, it's going to go before the finance committee and the executive committee.
Okay.
Early in the month. I want to say the 10th or the 14th. I
Okay.
forget the date. And I think our county board meeting is the 23rd. So there's time for public comment. All you have to do is sign up, come to the meeting and sign up. Check the county website. That'll give you a list of the meetings and everything. Don hit it on the head before, voice your opinion on it. Let your county supervisor know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to close out here with some advantages of the sales tax. So it allows non-residents to take advantage of the county services to contribute to the cost of these services. So it's more wide-reaching than just the county residents.
Good.
They generate enough revenue to fully address the budget shortfalls. It would allow for property tax relief, and it can be enacted by the county board. It's already been adopted by the legislature. It gives us the authority to do that. Now, certainly, there's some disadvantages also. The sales taxes are finite. It's just a one main source of a revenue stream. It cannot, the amount of sales tax is fixed and cannot be increased or decreased without legislative change. I can say that, okay.
Okay.
It brings in more revenue than is needed. It may lose sight of other revenues or operational efficiencies over time. And it does have, I guess you could say, an adverse impact to the business community. But, that's why we talked about trying to give back also. It's not going to be a take. We want to give back to the county taxpayers and also the municipalities. So that was one of the things that I was glad to hear the county executive talking about.
Yeah.
That means, in business, you want to have good business partners. We're trying to be a good business partner, both to the taxpayers and the different communities within Waukesha County.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's safe to say the County Board of Supervisors, the Waukesha County Board of Supervisors, has had a reputation, and even in the executive branch, for being business friendly. Is that fair to say?
It's very fair to say.
And so it isn't just this, what's it called?
Knee-jerk
reaction. Thanks, Terry. Yeah. So feeling like a jerk right now. But yes, that it is very, very thoughtful in your process. And I'm sure you consulted a lot of business owners, and I'm sure the county may have some plans, or at least we'll listen to the county about ways to help them recoup those. And I think the redistribution is certainly going to be helpful.
I can't say it enough, Don. This isn't something that's been taken lightly. This is something that's been thought through. I point everybody back if they they missed the beginning of the program, as the county exec enlisted a business task force, or a task force, I should say, to go over all the options and what's the best alternative. They've brainstormed the positive and negatives of all this. This is a process that I feel very comfortable in saying has been thoroughly vetted by just not the county supervisors, the county exec, but by community leaders and business leaders within Waukesha County that are well established. And this was one of the things that they had came up with. So I feel very comfortable that this is the best opportunity for Waukesha County to stay solvent and progress into the future.
Sounds great. 10th District County Supervisor Terry Thieme, and what we don't take lightly, thanks for joining us, what we don't take lightly is you'll be going to work after this at Carroll University, helping out with the big homecoming game as the Pios take on Milliken, conference rivals. And thanks for all you do. Thank you for your service in so many ways. As a Marine, a police officer, city alderman, and now second term county supervisor. And thanks for sharing so much information on this proposed sales tax that the county will be voting on soon.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah.
Appreciate you having me on.
Same thing. It's always great to reconnect with you. And we'll have to grab a beer or a coffee sometime soon since we're also neighbors. And stick around. James Santel is on next with Amicus, a law review. And I wish you all a wonderful weekend, especially Carroll for Pio Nation. Have a great homecoming weekend.
Go Pios.
Please remember, safety is everyone's responsibility. Be kind to your mind. Go Ramila Mahagav, go there. Shiahan, and see ya!
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.